One of the things I could probably do to spur on a great amount of interest, innovation, and artistic wonderfulness here would be to ask people for submissions. Tell them what kind of dirt I've got, tell them what my supply list is of types of supplies I have available, and say if you were going to build a little room or a set of rooms into a slope that had a particular purpose, and there might be living space for you within that as well, so that you could keep it open more often, and there might even be two living spaces so that, like two couples or something could run the space, and it would be a destination for something. I don't know what. Coffee in the morning, hot drinks at sunset. So if I make a sunset viewing spot, or have a lot of sunrise viewing spots, I'm trying to improve actually. If I have those things, then why wouldn't I use it for the optimal purpose? And I could solicit and I could write out exactly all the physical things it has to have, like rain capture. It has to have this, that. I could make a long list. And then the question for them is, okay, how do you do that functionally and then make it look really magical and pretty? Anybody visiting it should see magical prettiness, like Hobbit house level prettiness, really just cool. And you could even plan for like each one having bird baths, and each one having a campfire, and each one having a food available that you can buy. These are almost like little, you could think of them as not exactly as comfort stations, but they're built off the comfort station. In fact, you would build the comfort station and you would build this around it with the whole design figured out ahead of time. And then anybody having anything to do with that area would have access to those resources. Like, I'm not sure on my own central property here where I would put the line, but I think I would put it near a building up there, and both those buildings up there would be to serve other people. There's another building up there that would actually be part of another space because it's too far away. It's on a different whole thing. And there is the idea of deciding the furthest out that I can go with my own property line, and then build a property line further out that becomes a space that is a more shared edge of the central property system. In other words, I take my house, I build walls around it, I build walls further out from that, which are meant to create a mid-space between the two, and those become shared spaces with other communities, because this is such a central location. It's one of various. I mean, it depends on what you call central. But this one would be very important for serving other systems. And so as I figure out where those walls go, it's a periphery of development that would occur very carefully. And then there's the other issue of solar power, where I need larger solar power stations, locations where there's solar power, internet, a warm light place to be pretty much 24/7. I mean, you're always going to want offices that run 24/7. You're always going to want early stuff and late stuff. And so then you've got a kitchen involved with that too, because it's going to feed people. And then that gives you a lot more flexibility on what you can build near it, because you've got your basic services handled, and you could offer infinite camping. This time of the year, because of the size of the property, you could easily host a couple hundred campers in more developed and cleared up camping spots. And then you could pick all those camping spots and start to figure out, okay, how am I going to improve them? Or am I going to bother because I know something else is going in there later? And all this shit I'm going to learn with the drone map. Because I've paid to have dug multiple camping spots have never been camped in. I've got a dance spot over here behind me in this gully. It's an awesome spot, and the trees have grown up in the middle of it, And I'm going to be able to cut the edges of those, and people can dance around among the trees on this flat spot that is now less dusty and it's more overgrown than it was. I'll clear it out a little bit. I will improve trails in and out of it. I will have a campfire near it and a campfire perhaps in it, one that people can't try and jump over and burn their legs or some dumb shit. I'm not going to support the jumping over of fires. Yeah, I know it's a cool pagan thing to do. It's really fun to jump over a fire. I just don't like it because there could be an accident, and I'm very accident avoidant. Risk management, baby. Design it right, it'll be hard for people to hurt themselves. I am hesitant to build too much stuff that's available 24/7 because I want people to sleep at night. I continue to think that's an important value of the space, is that unless you have a different reason, go to sleep at night. Now, night's long, so you can have extra hours on either side of night to do other stuff. You know, you might check in on your social media. You might work on a project of some kind. You might socialize with your people who live near you. But I want people near their homes at night. I don't like people out walking around at night. So I think that most of the things I want to have be available at night, I want to be within community clusters, so that at night we draw people back into their community cluster. I have thought about street lights and the common areas that connect to different blobs, and how we're going to handle people getting from one blob to another. Well, I mentioned tunnels, and tunnels could be lit, but most people shouldn't even know about the tunnels. Fuck it. They should walk outside home at night, and they should have motion-sensitive lights that are small enough to light their way home. Is this a decision? I don't know. Let's run it through my head. They do sell solar powered, so you don't even need to bury a cable for it. Well, they're going to be burying some cables anyway for some other shit, so who knows. But solar's an easy, smart way to go to begin with. Those little yard lights, bullshit. Shed lights are bullshit. I have shed lights. I bought multiple products of them. They're fine. They briefly have you get some light, but their batteries go bad. I have some that I need to check and see if I can change the batteries. There's issues with that. But I'm thinking like street light level. I want it to be warm light, not blue. That's a requirement. I don't like blue light. I want it to be pointed down to the ground. And I will have very few paths that are fully lit at night. Like I can once I design the entire grouping of all the spaces, I can decide which do I think are going to be more important to walk between at night, and then I can decide how important is that for having full street lightness. In this way, I can reduce the total amount of areas that need a street light. I want to lock the whole city down at night. To arrive at night or in the early morning before it's light out, you have to pay a toll. I made that up just now. I think it's a good idea. You have to pay a toll if you have an electric car coming onto site because it's noisier. No. Combustion car. I could offer a better deal for electric cars. I would have to have solar to charge them. And I have mixed feelings on electric cars anyway. Really what I have to do is offer on site electric golf carts. Electric golf carts are the way to go. Pedicabs, carts, horses, burros. I will give in to electric vehicles. I will even encourage people if they have an electric bike. We could have an electric bike club here. We could have electric bike manufacturers come out and promote their product. There goes Raven. Doing raven things, secret raven things. I guess every community blob really can have a business center, a set of offices for remote workers in different spaces. I could have restaurants where you can rent a room. For your whole group. And they would all order and be brought food. I think that's a common thing. I think in Japan, you can do that, but you have to sit down in a way. I can't even bend my legs that way at the moment. So I think normal chairs and tables are fine. You could also rent out other spaces. I mean, you could make like an Asian space or an Indian space. You could have cultural rooms, just like, you know how you have those custom hotels and stuff that have fancy stuff. All right, what am I doing over here? Checking my power. That is fairly low power. Good to know. God damn, today was educational. I hope the video with that guy turns out all right. This thing here is a big cistern I built. Holds about 90,000 liters. What it needs on top of it is the following. One is clean up the garden around it. Two, put a roof on it made of polycarbonate or frosted glass that doesn't shatter and kill you. It'd be expensive, but it would make an amazing outdoor space where you could hang out all day. And out here you could even put a spot to cook. I mean, it can be either here or it could be in on the porch there. And the smoke could even go out and be annoying and annoy bats, because annoying bats is good. So in other words, use this porch to maximum effect. There's an entire porch out there that's more public. You see, it would divide this off enough so that you keep those people away from up here. This is like, for now, I mean, I live here now. This would be my private location for people I like a lot. Over there, make buildings over there, put in a new toilet for people who are residents of this building. Put in a new toilet over there for people who are not residents of this building. My current toilet here is one of my worst. It was my first one. I built it. It sucks. It would be possible out here to actually dig this out with a bulldozer a little bit and put a raised concrete deck out there, which you can walk out to from right here. In fact, I left a space here with a barrel. You could walk out onto it and survey nearby areas. You know, kind of be in the trees over there. It would allow for, underneath it, parking out of the rain, which part of the year is convenient, or just being out of the rain. Put an outdoor campfire down here. I really wish there was a way, and maybe there is, maybe you can tell me, to automate CAD CAM stuff, GIS stuff, actually GIS stuff is more accurate, so that it could take the GIS files and automatically suggest what you should do with that piece of land. And there's already suggestions that are obvious, like it should just generate a sun map. It should generate a sun map of morning sun and late day sun, where it hits, right? If there was no trees, where it hits, and that's your sun opportunities for sunrise. Do the same thing for sunset, and then match those two maps up and see which ones are better for both sunrise and sunset. Which ones are they? I want to know that. I want to know that because I want to build a building that is open both early and late and has excellent light. And then I want to maximize how many of those I can build. What I'm doing is, even though I say you should sleep at night, I'm trying to have natural ways to light earlier and later times of the day where it's really comfortable and wonderful to be there at that time of the day. Just in the same way I want to expand growing seasons by having more microclimates and planting them at different times and pre-starting some seeds and not others. And in the same way I want spaces for humans to be in where we're expanding the day. We're making it so more parts of the day are useful for more things. Because like I tend to be a night owl in some ways if I have electricity. And if someone's a geek, let's say they're a software geek, it would be really nice for them to be able to work at night or in the evening or the morning, whatever works for them. Each person is very different. And I would like to adjust to people more than I cause them. This is an issue with architecture. Do you build it for people to do the thing you want them to do, or you do build it in a flexible way so that they can do what they want to do in different ways? Well, you spread your people out. They're less focused on one part of the day, which is one of my goals with live in the day, live in the light thing. But also they've gotten rid of their online work in off hours. And then their daytime is all free to walk around and enjoy the light and the pleasant climate and the plants and the forest. I mean, what a nice goal that is. In other words, we're building the architecture and the town layout even, and the online infrastructure enough that we specifically make it so it's really easy, super easy, to work online any time of the day you want to. And maybe we charge more for it at night. Because you know what? Nighttime connectivity actually does cost us more. People can always have cell phones, and we can still, it's fairly low power, I think, to have a cell phone amplifier. But cell phone travelers are different than travelers with equipment and doing major production activity. But people who are doing major production activity, I think we should be supporting them as much as possible. You know, I want somebody to be able to come here and make their film. And I want a list of like actors and sets I can provide for that. And most of the sets will be modern day. And they'll be built to not age poorly. Like, fuck it, I'll put my own art in there. You know? That's a whole nother thing. But, I suppose somebody could even come here if they were a set designer. But if they were a set designer here, they wouldn't be building temporary sets. That is not how I want to do things. The way I want to do things is build permanent sets so that it's reusable by many people. And have costuming departments, you know, even though most of what I want to support filming is current day. There's no reason not to have costuming department. Maybe we need a monster. Maybe we want to have a dress-up party, you know. And of course, we could easily have like costumes for just different kinds of parties. I actually like costumes a lot. I think they're very wasteful, and often people spend too much money on them. But I think they're fun. They're a way to play with your identity for a time. Face paint is actually the easiest and best costume that there is, because it changes your entire look on the most important part of what's unique about you, your face. And so I think doing face paint, having a face painting place, this sounds really... So the face painting idea is pretty cool. My mom actually sent me a cool book on face painting and had lots of great examples. It's like a mostly picture book, but it also shows you the stages to do each one. And somebody could come here and just have that book on the table and just do people's faces until they're really good at it. And then more people could learn to do it. And even just like a black band across your eyes changes your look so totally. The face is such an important communication device. And so having people walking around with face paint on sounds cool. You know, we'd have to have a space to wash it off, which the sauna could have a special face paint sink. Could have a special face paint sink where we expect that things around there are going to get a little bit more messed up on color. And that's just anticipated. Body paint I'm a little less into. It's a little more intensive, takes more work. But I guess people like that because it's naked or semi-naked. It's just whatever. Just get naked. Just fucking do it. Don't give a fuck. That would be more easy. But face paint is so easy because the face is so small. And I could have a sponsor of some brands I like, preferably one made locally, that I knew the chemistry of it, so I know that I'm not making people be toxic with their face paint. That would be cool. And I think often it's associated as a kid's thing. I would rather not do that. I mean, people like tattoos, right? But those are permanent. Face paint is like a temporary tattoo on your face. And we could even do some fake tattoos. You know, you could like lie to your family and say, oh, yeah, I went to Mexico and I got 666 tattooed on my forehead or something. That doesn't seem like a very good joke, but all right, what do I got out here? What is all this fucking crap? Fucking crap all over my everything. What the fuck is that? Oh yeah, I remember. Oopsies. Surprised I didn't get in trouble for that. I guess having a person here who had the equipment and the skills and they owned it, having many spaces where people can go that are out of the shade and rain and they can easily set up and there's already seating provided. I mean, let's just build seating and storage into it, right? So I thought about these little storefronts before where you sleep behind it, you offer services out of the front. One of those could be face painting. And would those have along the edges of them, well, I think they could all be different. And some of them would have built-in seating as a big rectangle or any other configuration you can think of. You could have spaces set up as like seating areas that were shaded, that were specifically for watching people, for people watching people walking between community blobs. And then if some vendor wants to set up in there, just overbuild the infrastructure. Have it be available. I know some vendors came here once and they were very nice people. I think I recall who it was, but my memory's a little fuzzy. But, you know, there's a bunch of tables out there on this big porch. And they asked, hey, can we set up our shit here to sell it? And I was like really happy they asked rather than just doing it. And I said, sure, do that. and they set up their shit to sell, and people bought it. So obviously there's a need for temporary commercial space for traveling people, especially those traveling in their vehicle, because they have more shit to sell. And they might even be able to, if the space was right, they could even be making stuff while people are passing by to see if they want to sell it. In other words, you can combine the housing for them, which is better housing than a tent. So just a small room to sleep in. Some of them with double beds for 2 people, some of them with 2 cots for 2 people. Not cots, but like built-in things with mats and shit. And then some of them more fancier for people who want to pay more for it. I mean, we don't have to worry about what people want. We can just make a bunch of shit, and then whoever wants the stuff that they want the most, we make more of that. But initially, start out cheap, make them simple. And even that idea is pretty complex. Like we've got parking behind a building, access into the building, and the building might be on slope and dug into slope, and so they may have access actually to 3 rooms and a carport. Who knows? I don't know that all cars need a carport, but they would then have access into something that they would be able to really functionally run their business out of for an unknown amount of time. And they would be renting that time from the community. Which, what does that do? Because I've talked about the need for someone to pay for community, right? Well, vendors could pay for community, traveling vendors. You know, if we know how much they sold, or don't care because we like their product enough, we can invite them and say, yeah, you got this amount of space for this amount of time, and if you want longer, then you pay more maybe because you're making money off it. Or you want better, then we have better and we have worse. You know, we can go as simple as you want to get. Some people already travel in their vehicle or by backpack and they still sell products. But we can do better than that. We can get them out of the sun and the rain. So we can provide them with something better. Also, we can have toilets available and even sauna available so they can get clean. Because I've thought about in the past telling people, before you come here, consider like taking a really long shower and being really clean when you show up. And then plan on when you leave to take a really long shower somewhere. I've done that at festivals where there was no good shower facilities. But one of the top priorities is definitely to build a solar sauna. And then another one, and then another one, and another one. Because keeping people clean is going to make them the happiest. So that's the top priority with water right now, as I want to increase the water capture, is offering people saunas. And I think those should only be offered either at high cost or low cost for residents. Longer term people included in the deal. Just figure that in as something that is taxpayer funded. Although you might have one in your own community and you might have public ones. This is the genius behind, it's really like co-housing except it's co-communities. And you could even, I could even buy a piece of land over there, divide the entire thing into lots, right? And I'd have to look up capital gains taxes on this and shit like that. But I could divide all into private lots. I could say, this is the only way you can build on this lot. It comes with a design. There's an architectural design so that your building fits in with another building. And there's like dual porches and it's all really cool. And most of the trees in that area would probably get cut down. We would pick, and the map will help with this. The map I got done does not include that property, unfortunately. But this would be a way that people could actually buy into a property. They would buy into an HOA, it's a homeowners association, with rules like no amplified music. And I think that could be a self-enforcing rule, which I prefer self-enforcing rules. Ones in which you don't have to be a dick to anyone, but everyone just loves the rule so much that they, of course, enforce it. if some dickhead comes in and doesn't like it. And the no amplified music one is the biggest one for me. And you might think, oh, that sounds a little uptight, you know. But I don't want to hear 3 different amplified music sources going on at once. And I don't think you do either. I would have to look into the law around here in this municipality to find out what the laws on noise are. But I want to make an agreement, a social agreement with anyone that buys these properties and attach it to their deed. Stick it in the fucking deed that certain things, even regardless of the HOA, they're not allowed to do. And I think announcing things or playing music really loud at your house to share with everyone because you're so kind and nice, to pollute the entire audio stream, would be a really great way to make a social agreement that at least that one we can all agree to. And then, we have to make other decisions about like dogs and stuff, but a lot of that's just, which space do you feel like living in? For the private land, I really like the private land idea because, and I could do this with my own land. I could set up lots now. I mean, once I get bulldozer work done, I could actually set up lots for sale. I could sell lots to people, and I could do just what I was talking about. Put legal restrictions on the ownership of this lot. You can use it for this, and not that or that. And that would raise the value of the lots all around it because everyone's protected. Nobody can start a pig farm next to them and be slaughtering pigs every morning and having to spend the rest of your life listening to pigs squeal to death. That kind of shit does occur, by the way. Somebody can just open a pig farm next to you. What are you going to do about it? Well, if you have a defined community, then you have social agreements about what's allowable and what's not allowable on your property. And you could legally own it. Now, I think everyone legally owning their own land is a little inconvenient because then everyone has to file taxes on it. There's all this extra shit to do. And so there's other options like leasing or stuff like that, which I have to look into. I'm not a lawyer, okay? I don't know shit. But I know there's a bunch of options out there. And I want an option that protects my vision of what I want to see in the future. My vision is a good vision. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch this video or listen to me. Go make whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Do it. Please do it. I beg you to do it. Whatever thing it is you think is our big conflict that, if I only believe this one other thing, then your community would be great for you. Like vegan, for example, I don't think I'm going to make any vegan community. I know people making vegan communities. I think in general, vegans are often uptight, not always, just statistically speaking. You could be an awesome vegan. I know of an awesome vegan. Like, she's awesome. As far as I know, I don't know her super well. But it's a red flag. And so I'm not going to make a whole vegan community. People's views change. People's diets change. I'm not going to design a whole community blob around a diet style. Granted that some of the communities could be like, we know that we want to eat tons of meat, or we know that we don't want to eat tons of meat, and some of them can be raising rabbits and chickens, and some of them not. So some of them can have meat-related industries, and others not. Some can have animals or not. I mean, taking care of animals is tricky. Roosters are annoying as shit. I'm going to pick one community, which is the chicken reproduction community for the entire area. And it's going to have roosters. And we're not going to de-crow them or anything. I don't know. It just doesn't sound nice to me. But we're going to sound insulate them. We're going to put them in forests and groves. We're going to reduce their crowing nests. We're going to pick the best roosters and only have the best roosters be reproducing, because they're just providing the sperm, okay? The hens are what matter. And so we carefully manage the population of roosters for several breeds of chickens. At least 2 I can think of. Well, 3 I can think of, but 2 of them go together, so they're really one. Rabbits, similar thing. I think that there could be some communities that have more rabbits or less. I think we can have small rabbit places in every community. And the reason for that is because we want to get rid of kitchen waste. And the other reason is we're also going to have hens in every community, but not roosters, because hens are not as annoying. And I still have to look up emus and find out how cool they are, because they're probably really cool, and they make a cool noise. So the thing is, there is no food waste. Food waste has been solved by having a few chickens in a positive spot that's nice enough for them. You can dump all your food waste in there, and they'll give you eggs. And I want those big enough so that they're not in a tiny cage. And you can harvest the dirt out of it too. You can stick sawdust in there to keep it clean, when there's rain or something. And then you can, eventually that sawdust becomes dirt, and eventually you harvest the dirt out of there, and you toss it in your garden, and it composts in place. And you toss it in a garden, let it compost for another season if you want to. I don't give a shit. But rabbits, I don't think you need everywhere. First of all, rabbits eat less types of food, and they also need more square footage. So I'm picturing greater centralization of rabbits than chickens. A guy did just tell me about his rabbit space, and it sounds too small, and they're not reproducing as much as he would like, and it doesn't sound like they're digging their own holes under the ground either. So they should be making their own holes under the ground, making their own housing, and your space should be big enough to handle that, and you should be able to handle 100 rabbits in a space, and have more than one rabbit place like that. And that would provide all of the meat needs of an entire community. So already, with just rabbits and chickens, we provided the eggs, right? And then enough rabbits, and I have to do the calculations on how much meat do people want to eat, and how many rabbits do we need to have to maintain a population big enough so we can harvest off of it, while sculpting the genetic group of the rabbits, while improving it, while taking every good mother and protecting her, because she's an awesome mother whose babies always live and she has more of them. We have cameras on them doing tracking of them and how many babies come out of their den, and we know exactly how many babies every rabbit had. Because just like chickens, you want to track their egg production, right? Well, I grew rabbits in a way that it was all mysterious as shit to me. I didn't know who was producing a lot. I knew which nice rabbits were friendlier than others. One of them liked to sit on your lap. It was my favorite rabbit. It was a black and white rabbit, and it would come to sit on my lap, and I could pet it gently and be very nice to it. They're very skittish if they're wild. They're semi-wild out there. They're domesticated, but they're wild. And so I could gently pick it up, and it would trust me, and I could stick it on my lap, and I could pet it for a while, and then eventually it might think, well, either I kick it off, or it thinks, I would like to be somewhere else, and it just bounces away. Perfectly nice rabbit. But was that the best mother? Was she producing the most babies? I think we should be breeding them to produce more babies, and maybe raise more than one type of rabbit. I mean, I have my preferences on breeds of rabbit as well, which is mainly California and New Zealand rabbits. They're a mix here. They're common. But you could do a really weird rabbit place where you made a single huge Flemish rabbit family, and then bred those and occasionally bought a new one or something for genetic diversity. But you could do that, and it would be mainly for amusement. Big Flemish rabbits. You could do tiny baby rabbits, chinchillas. Dwarf species. I don't know. Unless a dwarf species can justify its existence, It's not the ideal. The New Zealanders and the Californians are the most productive for rabbits around here. You could do Angora and make sweaters. All of this can be a proposal, but it has to pencil out. It can't just be, it sounds cool, we'll do it. It has to be, it sounds cool, and it results in income. So if it's going to be cool, it has to result in income as well. Even if income is just coolness and people love it. Like seeing a huge rabbit, like a Flemish rabbit, might be amazing. Like what if you could just raise the biggest rabbit in the world or something? It'd be pretty cool. So economics are not all about money, they're about coolness. But the economics matter a lot. So and the fencing for rabbits, they really have to be huge courtyards. I think of Rabbit Island in Japan, where there's a whole island where they're at. And they actually make money off tourists coming in there, and they feed the cute bunnies and stuff. And so we could really mimic that as a tourist attraction and make a area for rabbits, which are especially friendly rabbits. We might put them in there while they're growing up. Once they're away from their mama, they don't need mama's milk anymore, and they're not big enough to harvest, but they're friendly and nice, and we choose the nice ones, or they look cool, maybe they're black and white or more colors even. Black, white, and brown, I guess, that's all the colors you get. But anyway, we raise these as like extra friendly rabbits, and then people could actually come into it as a tourist attraction and have it be big enough that we have a space for the rabbits to be at night, where we protect them, and then even let them out in the day, or just fence the whole thing. I don't know. Okay, I don't have a whole full plan here, but I guess I just think that rabbits as a tourist attraction would add value somewhere, and it may not be here. It may not be on this property, but somewhere around here could make a whole, kind of like a petting zoo. But instead of a tiny petting zoo, make a bigger one and design it for people as well. And you could move animals in and out of it as desired. You could have back areas where you're just producing animals, but then you let certain ones out. Like let's say you were raising deer, okay? Well, you probably don't want like really mean buck who's defensive and has sharp horns to be interacting with your tourists. And you might want to release that in the wild, so you might even want to scare it and have it be a buck that doesn't even like people. But couldn't you have like a young mother and her fawn in a deer area where people can actually feed the baby deer just as old as it is enough to like want food out of someone's hand? And then somebody gets this amazing experience of being that close to a baby deer. Maybe the mom would, want the food too. And it'd be a big area, supported by a big back area. That sounds pretty cool. And some of those deer would end up becoming meat in the restaurant. And some of those deer might be let out into the wild to repopulate the area with deer, since in this particular area there's not enough deer. It's a problem. I know there's plenty of places where there's an over surplus of deer. That's just because there's an under surplus of poor people with a license to hunt deer. Easily solved problem. Oh, man. So beat up. I could use a sauna and a massage. I still have the plan to go to a hotel to get cleaned up. It's been like a year and a half since I've had a shower. Actually, surprisingly, not that disgusting. I think your skin, flora and fauna, little wee bugs that live on you, I think what they do is they balance you out, you know? I mean, yeah, I've had to, like, I'm wearing sandals right now, and that's to let my feet breathe. Because if I walk around in the hot sun and have sweaty feet, duh, they're going to stink. But if as soon as I'm not in the hot sun, I switch into these sandals which breathe really well, then my feet won't stink. Problem solved. More comfortable. I'm open to proposals as I think about all these community blobs and things that could exist in the shared space between them, in them, and also I'm interested in hearing from people who want to own their own land. And they have a really cool plan for it. And that plan can be anything from, I'm just going to be an individual who isolates off by myself, and this is my piece of land, and it's the land for the rest of their life, and that's it. And it's fucking great. And we have a list of buyers for who wants to buy it after you do. And you don't sell it to the highest bidder, you sell it to only people who agree with the social agreement, and that's in the deed, which I guess would take care of it, right? That would take care of the problem of some fuckwad moving in and being an asshole. For the most part. But if you have a list of potential buyers for your community spot, and we encourage that to exist, and we've filtered those people, and they're already people you know, so you should normally be selling your land to someone you know, and they're like waiting in line for that land. They want it. They know it. I guess it's okay if the price goes up. I mean, why not profit? Inflation happens. Prices go up. People could bid on it. And that would actually finance the sale of the creation of future other buildings and lands. We could even say, this is again, I'm always thinking of these anti-freedom fascist bullshit things, but I'm pointing them out, so it's not like I'm being secret about it. But you could say that, you know, there's only one realty that you can sell it through, and it's ours. And that realty is going to take a 7% tax. I think that's what the tax is here on real estate sales is. And that 7% tax on the transition of a property, which we wouldn't even need a real realtor. It would be an agency. And what it really is a tax that goes to the who? It goes to either the community blob or the larger blob that controls the overall system. And it could be that you do 3.5% to the community blob and 3.5% to the larger blob as a donation to it. And that would mean that the transfer of property itself would help to finance running both of those systems. And it's right down the middle. It's like, if you sell a house in a community blob, 3.5% goes to the community blob, 3.5% goes to the larger blob, overarching blob, and that's used for improving infrastructure and everything's cool. And reduces dues and fees, because often these HOAs have fees, right? Well, if the HOA had good infrastructure, if the HOA owned anything of fucking value, which definitely includes who's there, because who's there decides whether it's a good place to be, right? So we have this exclusive invite list of people who agree to a bunch of values. And I mean, if you did make it so that there was a 3.5% change donation when you change, then it would basically make an extra cost to change, which we want it to be easy to change. So adding a cost to that would discourage it. But it would be a great way, and it would increase with inflation, right? Because the price of the property would increase with inflation naturally. So it's not a set fee, it's a percentage fee. And that would allow the HOA fees to be less and invest in more. And every one of these community blobs should have a whole bunch of infrastructure projects on the list, and so should the overarching one, that they would love to build. And each one that gets built improves the quality of life for every single community and everybody there. That's the best legal structure I can come up with. Is it a trust? No. In this case, we're talking about people individually owning property, which is a very hard topic for me because I don't know any individuals I trust enough to buy property. I know some individuals I do trust, but we would even then have to make agreements about how are you going to use this land? What is the effect on traffic going to be? Are you going to be running workshops all year long or once a year? Is that in the deed? I don't know. I mean, I could design whole areas where it's easy to run workshops all year long, and I could have them be owned by the overall nonprofit, and those could be rented out by people in various communities to say, I want to have my event here, and I will pay you X percentage of whatever I get from different people, which sounds like you have to track something, which I don't like that. I'd rather just do a set fee. And also I would like to help people, not working to profit off them as much for the HOA, for the larger nonprofit, but to, contribute and then gain a better space available to them because of it. In other words, I want it to be like a convention center where everything is fucking great. I mean, you can imagine a shared, between community blobs, right? You can imagine a shared convention center that had a hotel that offered people what they fucking want. Everything a hotel has, just, I'm always thinking of these freakish ideas and out there stuff, like make people suffer in this way or that way to be more ecologically correct and shit. But like, what if it was a place where people stayed for 3 days and they had one pair of sheets, and so we only have to wash sheets once, and it's a high price for all of it, and we have awesome teachers and often teachers supporting teachers so that they can charge more for their event and not have to work as hard because they have peripheral educational systems supporting them. So you have a wellness center, but you've also got a yoga school, and the yoga school just has somebody come over to the wellness center and lead yoga sometimes, and you have that all worked out so it's correct. Set up self-interest to drive the interaction and design the interaction around self-interest of people who want to profit off something. I mean, there's people who will travel to a fair and sell people food. Well, that's extra work for them. What if we just had enough people all the time and they lived on site? What if it was kind of designed like a festival, but it was a permanent one? It continued all year long. And there would be high season, low season, no doubt, but we can turn high season into low season, and turn low season into high season by having better infrastructure, by having greenhouses people can be in so they're not getting rained on, but they can still enjoy the sun, or whatever the hell it is. Making a Disneyland that is a Disneyland of the mind and personal development with an invite list that is exclusive and people who are amazing that have agreed to social contracts, even in the most public of places. even in workshops that are only 2 weeks. Everybody there agrees to certain things, and we have responses to violations of those. I'm thinking consent issues, drug and alcohol use, just whatever the fuck causes problems in a group of people for a short time. Shut that shit down. Don't be the person who talks 60% of the time. Oh, it's so nice out right now. So much of the year here is so nice, and that's one of the reasons I live here. Some basic infrastructure, of which I've mentioned quite a bit, would be really nice to improve it, and that is getting out of the hot sun and rain, so having more roofed areas. And I did ask a building crew, okay, well, how much would it cost per square meter of concrete roof held up by concrete supports and filled in with bricks? And they gave me an answer, but it's in my notebooks and I don't know what it was. And it would change over time anyway. And then what if I make it so that roofs, you can walk on it? What happens if I'm doing rain capture on it? What happens if I have a solar hot water heater that's filling up from a building uphill from it? I mean, really what I should do, this is an interesting idea, is as I talk about comfort stations and them all capturing full rain and having toilets and all this stuff, is I should build high up on the land and then build down the land. I've never thought of this before, but it makes total sense. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up with extra water I can capture uphill, and then as I improve business systems going downhill, I can put in storage tanks for water and use those for more things and turn this into an oasis of water, increasing bird life and reproducing plants and having water for people and stuff like that. So this is the reason that I would start building at the highest spots, which is not going to happen. I can do it over here. I can't do it over there. I can do it up there. That would be really interesting. It'd be a major fucking investment. There's a middle hill I have, the most middle hill I have, the highest spot on the lower property, where if I was to build a whole building up there, whose primary function was to capture water, have comfortable spaces for people in various ways, have an eventual view over the valley, because it's going to have that, learn how to build on slope. The problem is it's like my best hill, and one of my rules is don't build the first one in the best spot. But it is the best spot, so I'm very tempted. So I would get more bang for my buck quicker. And if I'm saying I want to capture water uphill, well, that is the uphill for here. And so I got to go walk up there, I guess, with a machete and look at it. And of course, the drone maps can help me immensely. I think building from what I've already got is a good enough thing. I've already got rain capture here. The first thing I should do is make it so that all the rain captured off of buildings which capture rain now gets stored. And then increase that to every other building, because those are already built. So increase all water. Put up saunas where they can be. Put overflow ponds for anything I can't pay for the storage yet, because it's expensive. Storage is very expensive. So put overflow ponds for anywhere that I can't deal with the overflow yet. But that becomes a wildlife and bird support. So even dogs will drink out of it, so not a problem. So start high on the land. It's difficult. But the advantage is then no pumps and water flows downhill So you can bring water into everything, and water is everything. Here, water's everything. So that water supports building downhill, downslope from it. I love that. So if I did choose to build the biggest building on the highest spot on this part of the property, I already kind of know how I would do it, which is useful. Because I would build something with double pane windows that go, 100 and something degrees, that make a room that's too hot, and dig into slope and have other places to be. I have plans for it. And then make stone walkways, stone stairways that go up to it. One road that goes in and out of it. Probably just one. I already know how it would work. It's kind of all planned out. And that would make a really private location that would actually be, I could make it hard to get out of and into, and then be able to open it up or close it down. And that would be very close to one of my biggest potential festival spaces. And so I would have the options of having a really private space that was going to be amazing within trees. We'd be digging into the roots of the oaks, going around them. That would automatically result in 2 levels right there of coolness. So there would be a dug-in level and an upper level, and then a building with a deck on top, maybe. I mean, most of them should have that. Fuck. I can't make the decision about where the best place to develop is right now. I can guess it's right around me. I can guess that I live here. This is always going to be the first building, the most important building. And if I improve around it, I can immediately invite people here. And people don't like to be far away from other people, in general. I do, obviously. But I invited groups of people here. And I remember one time I offered them 2 spots to camp. And it was a big group. And I thought, well, they can pick whichever side of this area they want to be on. And they were all setting up their tents in both of them initially. And then I came back and they all moved to one of them. I thought it was the funniest shit in the world. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, they were in the scary forest. And I think they were younger people. I think they were college age, or I don't know what they were. Maybe they were Mormon kids. I don't remember. I've had a lot of groups through. But there wasn't even one single tent private from the others. I would have had that one single tent private from the others with a girlfriend in it. Reasons to be private, If it was the Mormon kids, they were probably too young to even think like that. Yeah, they probably weren't fuckers. But really nice group of kids. And they had enough adult supervision, which I appreciated. So. Oh, man. Well, it's going to be 1 or 2 weeks before I get the drone information. So, like the images and maps and stuff. And then it's probably going to take another week or so to talk to the guy and compare plans or something. But I guess I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. I'm going to keep looking at the land, because I thought somehow that drone day would be like I would get all the information. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's kind of complicated. And so I thought, right now I'd be like all drawn out, like where I'm going to put buildings and stuff. And no, it's not going to work that way. And that's just as well. Because there's so many ways to do things wrong. And what I would imagine being really cool is, it depends on the total population I picture of being here. And the total more permanent population, temporary population, and very temporary population. So there's different groups of types of population. That's technically a curve, but you can just chop it up. But there's people who might move here and be here for the rest of their life. This is what they want. They've got their cool spot. They're set. Everyone's winning till the end. Great. Love it. I'll even build a cemetery. I'll be in it someday. And then there's other people who might come in for a time in their life. And I think I should have a lot of rental availability for folks like that, like ways of being here shorter times. And that's because how would they know if they want to be here, And they could be learning stuff while they're here. They could learn about how to build their own house, how to buy land, how to live like I do, except better. And the temporary people are an economic opportunity. This is the workshops. This is the 1 month programs. This is the, yeah, well, there's a bunch of them. And that can also be provided. I just want to protect the rest of it from that. That I can do. That's a top priority. And that should be a priority for every single community blob, is to make very hardcore decisions about who you let into your community blob under what conditions. And I think that having parts of your community blob interface with people who are from other community blobs in a very official way, like economically, selling them food, etc., should be very well set up. We can just set aside the spaces for it. You don't even have to do it. Each community blob could actually offer things to, this is long-term thinking and guessing, really, could offer things to the actual public. I would prefer it be just to people who are within the public of the communities that there are. Community public. We'll call that community public. But you can imagine that if the thing is successful and if it's bringing in money, and if there are people with money that we're attracting who want to drop it off, every community blob could have its own yoga center. Why not? Every community blob could not have its own pub. I think at nighttime the streets should be dang near empty and monitored. I don't like nighttime for security reasons. So I don't think we should ever be a nighttime destination spot. I think that if you come here, especially the shorter term people, they're not generally working. although they'll have the opportunity to have spaces that have access to doing that remotely, anywhere they are, hopefully. I think if they're not here to participate in the community, that they should be sleeping at night more than anyone else. Like, I'll make exceptions for rangers, longer-term residents. Well, anybody can work at night. I think we can do that without fucking anyone up, right? Like, we can set up spaces for anyone to work at night. Online. Or with their crafty thing or whatever. And have them have lighting and whatever it is they want to do in their space. But I want to entice them into the daytime. I want daytime to have all this amazing shit going on. Amazing, cool stuff. And there are some things we have to schedule. For example, I mentioned the prohibition on amplified music. Now, that's controversial because you're controlling people. But if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you don't come here. What about live music? Let's talk about live music. Well, first of all, that would be fucking nice, wouldn't it? I love live music. It's so much more investment for the person providing it. And it's such a beautiful thing to hear if it's the right live music. I'm not saying anyone should be playing bagpipes at 3 a.m. And so we might want to set some limits on this shit. I'm not saying we want a 24/7 drum circle going on where you have to listen to it all the time, because some people who are not investing in your community are just traveling through and they feel like hitting a drum with their hands for a while in hopes that one of the dancing chicks will fuck them. You know, I think we can do better than bad planning. On the other hand, I have a whole building where pretty sure you could drum in there and no sound would come out. It's a buried building. So a lot of this is just about space use. But could you actually have a person who came here and there was multiple stages available far apart from each other? For no audio conflict. And a person could say, I'm going to play my flute there for an hour. They schedule it, they show up or they don't, whatever. And they just fill this magical space, a community blob that wants it, a community blob that agreed to it, that they were going to have some community spaces that played some music. I mean, I can even think of this for Kidville, you know, like a kid town, where we're trying to encourage kids to play music. I don't care about it personally. I don't play any music at all. But, you know, why not encourage them? And some of them will like it, and some of them won't. And the ones that like it, you toss more instruments at them, and you record them, and you make them into a musical excellentness person for either their own purposes or, who knows, maybe they'll make lots of money off of it. And am I correct that kids are more noise tolerant than adults? And so maybe one of the stages, the sets of stages that could exist would be actually in the kids area. And if you want to go play for people, play for the fucking kids. And we could even have whole stages where, you know, it's half for the kids area. It's fucked up. And then half people who want to listen to you, adults, you know, actual people, and they listen to you, and then everybody wins, and you got to play in front of other people. We have video cameras set up, videoing the reactions of kids and adults playing, listening to your music, and you also would be well lit, and we're recording you, and you now have your first best recording of you playing your music. Or you can suggest that we don't do that because you suck. But if you're going to play, fucking share it with other people. If you're willing to share it publicly to people who are on site, it should be good enough that you can play it with people off site, and that you could make videos coming out of that space, off that stage. It would just be like, maybe you post one video a day. Maybe you post 24/7. Unlikely. I could have a 24/7 recording studio where all people do is they have a nice recording studio that looks really pleasant and has the equipment, and 24/7 you can just walk in, record music. It gets well recorded, and it gets broadcast live to the internet. Just like the Grateful Dead gave away their recordings, which was brilliant, by the way. If you look up the business acumen of the Grateful Dead, they made some really good decisions. And doing something like saying you can record our concert with your audio equipment was a brilliant move. Super smart for marketing and shit. It's probably the smartest thing they ever did. I mean, I don't know the Grateful Dead that well. But playing with intellectual property like that and saying, let's make one space where any musician that we like can walk into. You know, there's a sound engineer doing the sound shit that whatever they do is. It seems too complicated. It's got to be easier than that. Come on. Let's just set up some decent cameras and broadcast this shit. But anyway, you can sit down and you can suddenly have an immediate audience that's way bigger than your own channel. Right? And we schedule you, so there's viewers. There's live viewers, and some people like live. And then we're recording it, and we publish it as a future thing. We publish you playing it. We have nice lighting and a good camera person or two. And it's a basic music video. There's no dancing girls. There's no smoke machines or monsters. You know, it's not really cool. But it's you putting yourself out there to the world. And you might be 7 years old or 70. That seems like a worthwhile space to make, doesn't it? You could crowdfund that. Just a one space where you can be in this community of musicians, and then 24/7 you can just schedule yourself to play for X number of minutes. And it might not be long. Maybe you've only got one song. It's fine. I've recorded people who had 2 songs. I recorded somebody who had 1 song, and the lyrics were written by her friend. And it was the very first recording she had of her playing music. And, you know, it's not like she's gone on to be some famous music star, but she's at least got, you know, 1 video of her playing good music. I used 2 cameras for it. We could easily set up to be better than what I set up. I'm amateur at setting shit up. But and then I've got this guy who played music and another guy who played music. I lost 1 video of a guy playing music, and I got to find that. It was actually pretty good. It was very fun. It was very energetic. So, it's so nice out here. See, this is one I want to maximize right here. Oh my God, a raindrop just hit me. Oh, there's a cloud over there. Holy shit. If it rains, I have leaks in my house. That's a big problem. I'll work on it.